to Mornings with Marvel, where authenticity lives and thrives to create a space of growth, healing, and joy. I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and each day we will cover the topics that are informative and engaging while learning from each other. Good morning to each and every one of you. It is 11/11/25. It is 31 degrees and clear outside, and my poor father, who is on his way to visit me in the next few days, is going to freeze his tushka off. Not funny, but we're trying to get him ready to be here. So if you don't see me in the next few days, it's because I'm hanging with my father. But I'll make sure to report back to all of you that he's well, hearty, and healthy. He's doing all right. He's really doing all right. We made sure he's good for the winter months, and in the midst of everything that's going on, we're trying our best. Let me read the morning motivation. I don't always have the time. Today I do. Today it looks like Tuesdays are becoming, for those of you who want to come on and have a conversation with me, it's our day, right, to have the dialogue, because we've been covering a lot of news and trying to navigate through all of this. We often let people dictate to and judge us based on our past mistakes and craziness. Do you realize yet that all of those things mixed with the good turned you into the person you are today? Real living isn't designed for perfect people, and the minute we stop looking down on folks and worry about our own patchwork journey, the better off we will be. Let me read that part again. Real living isn't designed for perfect people, and the minute we stop looking down on folks and worry about our own patchwork journey, the better off we will be. Mistakes are lessons in disguise if we choose to see and learn from them. Grab your life with everything you have within and live. Live like every day is your last without apologies, because when you come from a place of authenticity, everything will eventually work itself out. I have a friend that I love dearly, but found myself dreading any kind of conversations as the years went by, because they were steeped in blaming others for their failures and ungrateful regarding any good thing that happened for them. It was slowly killing my spirit, and as much as it hurt me, I had to sever the connection. Immediately after that happened, there was a crazy shift in my life. Doors opened up. I began to fully experience who I was and happily walked in gratitude for every facet of my life. I still do. That person is still blaming everyone for every misfortune and has burned bridges as a direct result. I will always love them, but from a distance. Miserable people will snuff the happiness out of you if you allow them to. So, good morning. Whew, I had a guest today. The guest had something going on and could not show up for our interview, which is fine. Well, I'll get them for another time, but I'm going to turn this day into your day, listening audience day, so we can have a conversation about all the things that matter to you. It is a fact that none of us are living perfect lives. It is a fact that we go through journeys, things that are happening that we don't ever talk about. We see people and they're smiling and they're saying hello and all the things. And behind the closed doors, they're dealing with all kinds of crazy things. One of the people that I love dearly, I don't get to see her often. In fact, the last time I laid eyes on her was last September, when I had an impromptu luncheon and she showed up. And I said, "Where have you been?" Well, she went on social media the other day and said, and I so applaud her for this, because so many people are walking in silence. She lost her first job, and 4 days later, she was laid off from her second job. $140,000 down the drain. She has 3 or 4 children, teenagers. And she says, instead of coming to all of you to talk about the journey after it happens, I'm talking to you now so that I can walk through this with all of you. I'm not trying to lose my mind holding on to this thing. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know how it's going to happen, but this is where I am right now. And I was so heartened by her authenticity, her clearness, this is where I am. And the truth of the matter is, y'all, all of us are there in some level, shape, or form. Sarita Scott called me Sunday from Duafe, and she said, "You've always given a lot to people," and she was trying to figure out how we can help Jamaica. And I said, "Listen, I've sent the the links to the people the 2 groups that I trusted to do da 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 da. And she stopped. She said, but I need you to stop and think. You people are really, truly want to help you. How can they get money for you to send to people directly in Jamaica? And I said, I don't want to do that because it's going to cause all kinds of issues, da 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 da. She said, okay. She said, you've got integrity. I get it. And I said, I don't want people to question whether the money is going, blah, 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 blah. She said, all right. You have some of the most fantastic coats we have ever seen. How about you auction off some of those coats in my store? And so that people can come and buy them, and you take that and give it to whoever needs to have it. Right now, we're sending money for a roof to be repaired and some other things. There are things going down in barrels, things are being packed. We're sending things, batteries, tarps, all of that. But many of us have folks within the community that we know that are really like living outside in fields. And so we're trying to navigate through that piece. But she said to me, why don't you ever ask for help? Like when you need help. I said, I do. I ask for help, but there's certain things that I want to be incredibly mindful of. And she says, you're kind to me. You're kind to this one. You're kind to, it doesn't matter. The kindness that I give from me is just to give the kindness. And because I know how people are judgmental and the way they live and behave oftentimes to deflect from their own stuff, I just decided that I was going to do this. It was coming out of my own pocket, or, we're going to figure it out. Show kindness. Please, I'm begging you. I'm not talking specifically to me, but to the people around you. A friend called and she said she's moving, and she had these great hats that her mother-in-law had. And I went there and they gave me 2 more beautiful hats. I put them on my head. I was so excited and happy. And then she said, as I was walking out the door, wait, my mother-in-law was your size and she has all these furs. And they handed me a fur coat. I've never owned a fur coat in my life. And then they gave me a second one to give to Renee Bolden for free, so that she could take it and repurpose it and do whatever she wanted to do with it. And it reminded me that people are still in the business of being kind. People are still in the business of loving on one another and making sure that we're okay. If we are not healed, we're going to find ourselves judging people, looking down on people, making people's lives miserable to deflect from our own, and it's just not a good thing. So as I'm having this conversation with you, let me now move into this piece. And some of you are probably going to be mad at me for saying this. Why are we still emotional about what politicians do? Why? If we've seen the handwriting on the wall, and we've seen that folks collude to get whatever they want to, and that it's not about us, the people that live here, do what we're supposed to be doing, that people are starving and people are making deals on our behalf, quote unquote, and causing us angst, why are we still sounding off upset? Why? What's the plan? There's more of you than there are them. So what's the plan? Can you go in your enclaves and figure out what your plans are going to be? How are you going to navigate through it? Right? What does that look like? Because people are literally suffering. Saw another sister. Yesterday was a great day for me. Saw another sister, and she was like, look, I was helping this sister, and the sister, said, I'm going to do something. She said, don't do anything for me. You don't have a car. Sister lost her car. The sister that she was helping went to the market with her and paid for all her meats, hundreds of dollars. We have to figure out ways to help each other and do it in a way that we're not expecting anything in return. It is absolutely important, right? Absolutely important. And you may not have a whole lot, but the little that you have, share as much as you can to help the people around you, because it is not, when I say, folks have lost jobs, they're not talking about it. They're showing up to things and smiling and, taking pictures while trying to figure out how they're going to pay their next month's rent, their next month's mortgage, their car insurance. Had a dialogue with a friend of mine who was getting married in December, who said that they called her in to her law office and said, well, we've decided we should part ways with you because blah, 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 blah. Had been with the law firm for God knows how many years, right? Had been bringing in millions of dollars of business. But when it came down to cut the fat, she was one of the people that were cut, right? And so she was saying to me, Andrea, we've got to figure this thing out. And she was saying to someone else, people are not paying their car insurance. And the person was like, how could they do that? That's illegal, da, 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 da. She said, well, if it's a choice between eating If it's a choice between paying the mortgage or the rent, if it's a choice between keeping the lights on in the house, then yes, they're going to take the risk. And this is where people are right now. And imagine we're not even quite where we're supposed to be yet, because it's going to get bad. So it's going to get worse. So we see that the government is getting ready to reopen. We see that there's some Democrats that signed on that said that they're going to, side with the Republicans to reopen the government at least temporarily. You see that they've decided that the funding would extend for running the government at least until January 31st. So they're not even running it for the long term. And then what they've ended up doing is covering things like SNAP, because they recognize that way more than people of color on SNAP. So SNAP will be covered until September 30th of 2026, and a few other key parts of the government. They want to rehire all the people they fired. I don't know if anybody read between the lines around that. They want to start rehiring all the people, many of the federal workers they fired in the government. And there's a concern that come January 31st, the government will shut down again, because the budget, again, is only pushed to January 31st. Are you preparing for all the people that have been out for the last 40 days trying to figure out how they're going to eat? Are you preparing when the government reopens briefly, however briefly it opens or however long it opens? Are you preparing? Are you putting things away? Are you buying food? Are you buying dry milk? Are you buying canned goods? People think, oh, well, this is America. Well, now you see. Now you see what can happen. Take the emotion out of it. And when you get your SNAP benefits, when you get your paychecks, make sure you have a little bit of something extra put aside, including medication, if you can, when you can, because the health insurance subsidies are going through the roof for many, many people. And if you heard David talking yesterday, this is not a if, but a when. So try, my God, please try. Mental health is at an alt. When I say people are snapping at each other, they're fighting over cards, they're fighting and they're getting into traffic accidents because they don't want to give somebody a pass. You look at them differently. You look at them and they're looking at you like, why are you looking at me? People are trying to fight for no reason at all. It is because folks are worried and concerned about their daily survival. Something that many of you thought could not happen to you because, oh, that's for the poor people. That's for the people who don't work. That's for the people who don't, do the right things. That's why that happens. Another conversation I had this past weekend, which really stunned me because it's somebody that I know very well that have been in the news for a long, long time, and met a lawyer at this event where I was, by the way. That was the biggest house I'd ever been in my life, but that's another story. Huge. It was a block and a half walking up the driveway. That's how big the house was. But we'll talk about that another time. Or maybe not. And so there was a lawyer that came for this event, and she does immigration work, and she was talking about child trafficking, human trafficking. And this friend said, well, people who are human trafficked are usually folks who are on drugs and I stopped and looked and I said, no, 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 no. Human trafficking is happening in ways you can't even begin to imagine. And as I began describing to this lawyer the things that I knew, she said, yep, powerful men sitting in enclaves within whatever communities they live in. And on a Friday night or a Saturday night, they've got a bunch of young girls coming into this place, this hidden place, and they are using it. You're talking about the Epstein files. Like let me tell you, it's happening in every community, everywhere, in places you cannot even begin to imagine. People who are selling their small children on the internet for sex and having people come in to sexually abuse their children. And I keep telling you, stop sending your babies to other people's houses. Right? Just all those things going on. The young lady who was on my show one year who said she was being human trafficked and you all know her, human trafficked while she was singing on the choir because she had a boyfriend who began human trafficking her, and she was so upset and ashamed she couldn't tell her pastor father. These things are happening every single day. And every single day I sit here and I say to you, be mindful. If you want to post a picture of your child and the child is dancing, make sure the child's skirt is not lifted up. There are people who are using our babies, pictures and videos of our babies, and ejaculating and doing all kinds of crazy things with our babies' pictures. With something you say, oh, ooh, that can't, it's happening. It is absolutely happening. And so we have to be incredibly mindful. I've asked you not to put your children's names where you go to church, all those things. There are some lascivious people out here. There was a report of a man in another state, and I have to go look this up, who was following, black man put it on Instagram. He said, I'm walking with my children, and a man walked up with an ice patch on, and in the teeth, and he was like, I'll take your children. I'll give me your children. What do you want for them? I'll pay for your children. There are people out here with the nastiest thoughts and the most lascivious things that they would do to our babies and to our teenagers. I just inboxed someone and I said, tell me Muslima girls are disappearing and nobody's talking about it. Every day, our children go missing. Every day. What's the conversation that we're having? And it's not just teenagers, it's young children. You put enough information on your pages, and they'll walk into the school. My name is such and such, such and such and such. They have your phone number. Not difficult to do. Have your phone number. The parent gave me permission. Blah 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 blah. They now can clone your voices. Stop acting like this is a life every day as normal. So the things that I want you to focus on is taking care of each other, giving grace, and making sure that people feel like they're in the communities with you. When you spend your time tearing people apart, it takes away from the time you could have managing your own life, A, and B, people no longer trust you. So when you absolutely need help, it's not forthcoming, right? Those are the kinds of things. And I just, every day I get on there. Yes, it's nice to have guests. Yes, it's nice to talk about the things that, we want to talk about. There's also conversation that people are not shopping this year, but who can afford to? They're talking about shutting down everything, that we're not shopping for Thanksgiving. We're not shopping for Black Friday. We're not shopping for Christmas. Who can afford it, right? The things that I would buy in last year this time are now 200% over what it was last year this time. Everything has skyrocketed. Everything. The restaurants have had to raise their prices. Everybody is dealing with something. So let me go take a look at the